Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Sabi Sands. It is a beautiful, beautiful morning here today, and here we are at WildEarthTV Dam with a beautiful big male giraffe. He did have a few small drinks just as we arrived, and we are hoping that he will continue to drink because it's a beautiful sight to see. And the reason why we came to WildEarthTV Dam this morning, folks, is because we've got a report from the zoomies from the Djuma waterhole cam that both a male lion and a male leopard was seen here about 2.5 hours ago at around 3:30 in the morning. So we did see the tracks of the leopard heading down to the dam, and now the trick is going to be finding the tracks where they leave the dam, as well as the male lion. Will be just seeing how it goes, but there have been lion in the area and leopard in the area, so we'll just see which tracks we can find and take it from there. This morning VM's on camera and Alex is in control. It's going to be an exceptionally hot day today, folks. It is already baking, so we do want to try and get active as soon as possible. There's a few buffaloes, you can see they're already in the water, which is not abnormal, but it's interesting that they are already in the water, and it does give you an idea of the heat that we are experiencing for these guys already to be in the water cooling off. Just want to wait 1 or 2 more minutes to see if this giraffe doesn't indeed. Oh, here it looks like he will be. It looks like he will. No. I thought he started to bend down to take another sip of water, but it appears that he may be finished. Let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes. He's having a very close look at these buffaloes. Now, it is interesting to think that there were lion and leopard here just a few hours ago, and you wonder if these buffalo were already here when the lion came and what interaction there may have been. Okay. It really is so wonderful to have the waterhole camera here. It provides us with a lot of useful information, just like it has this morning with the fact that there was a lion and leopard here just a few hours ago. Like I say, the tricky part now comes in, and that is for us to establish which direction the track's heading from here. And then we can try and track these animals down. Okay, folks, I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel. There's quite a few game viewers coming up, so excuse me while I just listen to what the guys are talking about. What will be happening is that as stations become mobile, they will then ask for a route updates of where people have been checking, if there's any information or updates already, and then people which area to work and why. You don't want to have too many vehicles in one area. You try and spread everyone out so that you can increase the chances of finding animals. I just would like to show you quickly the family of Egyptian geese. We have been following them closely, and from the first time we viewed them there were 7 individuals. There are still... hold on. Oh no, there are 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6, 7. No, 6. Oh, there's 7. As you can see this morning, folks, my abacus is playing up, but they're all moving so quickly that...
7.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. So all 7 of the individuals are still there, and their parents are taking them on a tour of the buffalo this morning, obviously. It really is incredible how such a large and potentially dangerous animals to humans is just a few meters away from these tiny goslings, and there's no threat or danger to them. If we, on the other hand, were waddling along the edge of that waterhole, the buffalo's response would certainly be different. Alex, I'm going to have a quick chat on the Game Drive channel, just to warn you. Folks, I'm going to have a quick chat on the Game Drive channel. It does sometimes interfere with the broadcast, but only very temporarily. So do bear with me if that does interfere. There is good news though. There is good news, and I just need to chat with the guys. I think I've just seen the tracks of the lion that drank it are now on this road heading in this direction, which is great, the same direction we're heading in. Morning stations, it's Scott here from Wild Earth. Good up. Track, it looks like a big hill down this road, so you haven't missed out on anything. I'm just going to confirm you didn't take opportunity to head down the riverbed there, which it appears still on the road. If I do see a nice track in a sandy stretch, I'll try and get to zoom in and show you guys exactly what we are following. Okay, where has the lion tracks gone? There were some leopard tracks over there. Okay, well this is good news folks. The lion just took a little shortcut but is back on this road, so we'll stay with his tracks, but also just useful to know that there are these male leopard tracks here as well for us to follow up on a little bit later. Great. So, two top predators moving past one another last night, one being a leopard, one being a big male lion. We have been following the male lion track for about a mile now, maybe just over a mile. It has been quite easy because he hasn't really left this road other than taking a few shortcuts where the road does bend and weave. I'm hoping we're going to find this lion not far. His tracks do still head down the road here. I'm just going to see if there's any chance we can show you one or two. But judging by all these buffalo here, I think the lion has already come and gone from this dam. Here are his tracks here. We'll be able to show them to you. Probably not at that angle. But here is one of the tracks. You can see it's a very big pad. This would have been a right foot, so in all likelihood this looks to be like a front right foot, which indicates to us, well, which we know because the front feet are bigger than the back feet. Now sadly, due to where we are now, this lion would have crossed out of the property where we can traverse, so we are going to abandon the lion tracking and start on the leopard tracking. So sadly, like I say folks, the boundary to our southern boundary is just beyond the dam, and if all those buffalo there and his tracks have been heading straight south the whole morning, it's highly unlikely that we will be able to find him. So I think it'll be best for us to now go and try our luck elsewhere. There are lots of lion tracks around, and thankfully all the other game viewers are out looking, and we're all trying our best to find animals. So I will leave the guys in the area where they are tracking lion now. It's not too far from us, but it would make more sense for us now to follow up on these leopard tracks, and that way ideally if we find the leopard and they find the lion, then we can share between those two sightings. Okay, well, who could it be, the male leopard that's been walking down this road? Possibly Djuma or Quarantine. Djuma or Quarantine. They do spend time in this area. We're following a small little riverbed here. Perfect place for leopards to hide and ambush their prey from. So what it also means is that it's difficult for us to spot the leopard if it is in this riverbed. This road will take us towards Treehouse Dam. The other dam we saw further back where we left those lion tracks was Twin Dams. And I'm sure both of these dams are going to get a lot of attention today. I mentioned earlier it is exceptionally hot already. I actually woke up at 4 o'clock this morning with beads of sweat on my forehead, which was quite interesting. So very hot and humid in this part of the world at this time of year. But last night was exceptionally so. Okay, what animals have been walking down this road last night? That looks all clear. The questions just come through from Tyler. Good morning, Tyler. How's everything going with you? Welcome to the Sabi Sands. Welcome on board. And Tyler has asked which is more aggressive between the lion and the leopard. And I think that would be difficult to answer in terms of pure aggression. In terms of strength, a lion would certainly outcompete a leopard. But in terms of actual aggressiveness, it depends on the individual character of the animal. Some animals may be likely to be more aggressive than others, and also the nature of the situation they may be in when you may encounter them. If they've got a kill, or if they're injured, or if a lioness or a leopardess has cubs, should be a lot more likely to be aggressive if you got close to them. So it depends on the individual animal and the situation they may be in, the mood on that day. So it's a good question, but difficult to say either or is more aggressive. I would say, again, a lot just depends on the individual animal, the individual pride of lion. Typically, though, if you don't interfere with them, they don't interfere with you, so that is an important thing to remember. Okay. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for that question, and please do feel free to send through questions on Twitter at #SafariLive or on email questions@wildearth.tv. We do try and answer as many questions as possible. Over the last few days with the signal breakups and a little bit of the chaos, we haven't been answering as many questions as we would like to, but as soon as the technical difficulties even out and we get it a little bit more into the swing of things, we will certainly be making an effort to field more questions. So I haven't seen any sign of the leopard tracks other than the initial ones that we did see, which was quite a way back now, and that doesn't matter. It was heading in this direction, so we will continue slowly towards Treehouse Dam and then reassess the situation once we've got there. Interesting. Very interesting. We've got a hippo here today and a lot of buffalo. But it really is interesting that there's a hippo here, because usually there isn't. Beautiful. Just going to park us in the shade here and then get comfortable and have a look at what all these animals are up to. Doesn't look like too much is going on here, but they certainly are in a good spot in this cool, refreshing water. Doesn't look very refreshing, or inviting rather. But as you can see, the hippo and buffalo are very happy, as is the oxpecker on a little island of hippo. Imagine having a private hippo island. Being an oxpecker, it would be quite a nice escape. So very difficult to tell where this hippo would have come from, but it wasn't here 2 days ago, and I have never seen a hippo here, so very nice to see. I'm wondering if it's potentially had a fight of some sorts, or maybe simply just grazed away too far from its regular dam and then thought to spend the day here. Oh, look at him chasing the buffalo. Here we go. Okay, okay. That was good. Interesting. Quite bold considering how many buffalo there are. And there's only one hippo. But he is big and strong, and he knows that. Alex, go ahead with that question. Thank you. Kristen on Twitter, good morning and welcome on board. Kristen's asking whether the heat does affect the game drive and the animal's behavior, and it certainly does. It can help in some ways and it can make things difficult in some ways. In general, predators are more likely to be active when it's cooler. Therefore, in the heat of the day, the chance of us seeing them moving about does become lower. So that is one of the negatives. But one of the positives on the predator front when it is hot is that leopards, especially in this area, and in some areas of Africa even lions do it, but what they do is they climb up into the trees, and that way they typically get a little bit more of a breeze. There's less of a blanketing effect from all the low undergrowth, so it tends to be a lot cooler up in the trees, and to see a leopard lying up in a marula tree is a beautiful thing to see. And we were actually lucky enough to see that yesterday on our way back to Manyeleti, where we stay every night, but we headed back during the middle of the day yesterday and did manage to see a brief glimpse of a leopard up a tree. She was quite skittish, and that is normally how you view leopards. In a very short and brief scenario, they are often shy and elusive, whereas in this area in the Sabi Sands, because they've been viewed for close on 50 years now and been habituated slowly every step of the way, now we are privileged with really incredible leopard sightings, as we are buffalo and oxpecker sightings. Sure, this buffalo is just below the vehicle and allowing them to get in nice and close and really show you this oxpecker doing its business. Beautiful. But yes, Kristen, good question. It does impact the game viewing, but it can be positive, it can be negative. Other positives are the fact that waterholes then become more popular. As we can see now, this waterhole is filled up with buffalo. We've even got a hippo here, which isn't usually here. So there are benefits to hot weather, but it certainly does make our life a little bit more tricky, just in terms of surviving the heat. But we've got lots of water on board, and we try and drink as much as we can, because if you didn't, you'd dehydrate very quickly out here. The injured hippo, folks, I believe a lot of people are asking about his whereabouts, and sadly, since the last time that it was seen, and I think it was last seen by Hayden probably 3 weeks ago, maybe even more, probably a month by now, and since then, sadly, it has not been seen. No guides have heard about where it could be or spoken about it, so we're not sure, and we would love to know. I mean, this could be him, but I doubt it, because this guy does look in fairly good health, even though we can't see too much of his body. As he came and chased that one buffalo a little bit earlier, we did have a decent view. Look at this terrapin here, Vim, between this buffalo's legs. Oof. Must be a scary thing being a terrapin, trying to feed on little grubs and ectoparasites from the buffalo's hide, and while it's walking around like that in the water. But let's wait a minute or two, because we've got such a good view of this one right here. We may get that terrapin coming back and feeding along the edge of the buffalo. Oh, there comes a big one. Oh, well done, Vim. Now, I'm hoping it is simply going to swim around the perimeter of the buffalo, looking for any small meals. So if we just give it a minute or two, I'm sure it will do 1 or 2 laps for us around the buffalo. Oh, look at that. Oh, that was just the tail. I thought it was the terrapin jumping out for a second onto its back, but that would have been a seriously agile maneuver for a terrapin, which isn't typically that agile. Where has the terrapin gone? It may have found a meal on the other side of the buffalo. There's also a few catfish swirling around the dam. We had a very interesting sighting here a few weeks back, where we could actually see the catfish breathing in the oxygen, and they had their whiskers out into the air. Oh, here's the terrapin here. Now, perfect. So now we can see him looking for any ticks or ectoparasites that would have lodged onto the buffalo. Okay. Well, folks, this is a beautiful sight and setting, but I think we should continue before it does heat up much more. We can always return to these waterholes, which will provide us good entertainment later on this morning, but right now I think it may be better to head off and continue looking for anything else interesting that we may find on this beautiful morning. Okay, copy. Thanks, Alex. Okay. Some hyena tracks coming up the road towards us. Hyena, lion, leopard, wild dog, all their tracks look fairly similar just from an initial glance, so it's worth just stopping and making sure. Folks, I'm just going to have another quick chat on the Game Drive channel. I'm sorry if it does interfere, but it is critical for me to chat with the guys. So if it does cut out, it shouldn't be too long before we back up and running. And hopefully, the conversation that I do have with the guides will be one leading us to some potential excitement. So give me a few minutes, please. From confirmed text says Buffalo's Hook Dam. We can slowly amble up there, we're not far from it, and just see if they have come back to the den that they were using. It appears that they may have moved out temporarily, but this is normal with hyena. They do shift den sites a few weeks on, a few weeks off. There's no set schedule that they do stick to, but copy, thank you, Alex. Morning, go ahead for Scots. We do have more leopard tracks here, heading in the direction that we have just come from. So now the choice is whether to turn around and follow these tracks. They look like from very early last night. Not having much luck on the radio this morning, folks, so you'll notice that a lot of the conversations don't really make much sense and are often one-sided, but there's something up with the radios today. Not sure what it is. They tend to have a mind of their own. I'm going to leave these leopard tracks and head back. I'm just wondering, it looks like there could even be two leopard that have walked down here. Let me have a closer inspection. Was it one or was it two? No, just one. There was a hyena also that got caught up in the midst. I'm just going to turn around, have a quick look where they do go from here. I do often battle to avoid following tracks, as you can see here, even though 30 seconds ago said we're going to go to the hyena den sites, I find myself turning the vehicle around and following the leopard tracks. It's just a tricky thing tracking in this whilst presenting these live safaris. I'm used to guiding in this area where you'd have a tracker sitting on the bonnet of the vehicle, and together you work together always, so you build up a good working relationship and good understanding of one another, and it also allows you to track animals effectively. The tracker will get off and follow tracks if they do head off the road. If they don't head off the road, he can simply focus on tracking whilst you can be talking to the guests. But sadly here we don't have a tracker, and even if I get off the vehicle just a few meters, it's difficult for me to talk to you. So it does make tracking animals difficult. Once the other vehicle's up and running, that will also help us, because that way, if Mark is in a sighting, it allows me freedom to get off the vehicle and spend 10 or 15 minutes tracking and focus completely on that, and vice versa for him when he finds tracks, and I may be able to be broadcasting whilst he's tracking. We're not sure when Jigga is going to be back up and running, sadly. It's a tricky time of the year. For getting things fixed. So that, combined with the area that we find ourselves in, which is fairly remote, it does make getting vehicles fixed difficult. So we do apologize for that, but it's equally as frustrating for us as it is for you. Okay. Morning, Jeffrey. Jeffrey's just asked a question all the way from Austin, and Jeffrey has asked whether some animals become more active in the heat, and certainly in general, yes. During summer we've got a lot more insects moving and reptiles moving. That is for certain. So the summer warmer months do provide a lot more reptile movements, insect movements. And then on a daily basis, I guess there's a balance, because it can be too hot for certain snakes and lizards and insects to actually operate. So I think that up to a certain point they will become more active, but on a day like this, even cold-blooded animals, I think, will be seeking shelter. But it is a good question, and definitely in general, if you compare the hotter summer months to the colder winter months, there's a drastic difference in insect and reptile movements between those two seasons. I was hoping the leopard tracks were going to continue down this road. They were kind of heading here, and it's the only road that you could have linked onto, so the fact that she didn't take it means that she was probably Russian tech genius Alex out here. He has a way with tweaking all these technical things which need daily attention. It appears that it's not something that can just be fixed and then work. It's like a little baby that needs permanent nurturing. So now there's one little spot now where I can check, where I'm guessing we will possibly find tracks of this animal continuing. And it's an area where we have found leopard before. Myself and the other presenters have all found leopard in this little drainage line. Oh, there she goes, there she goes. She's just come out of right here. Can you believe it? As I got out to try and see where she was, or if her tracks were, she was lying right here. Can you believe it? We hit the jackpot. Just about trying to find it now. I've got a bit of a fright. Oh, there she is. Okay, good. It could be a male, it could be a female, but that was crazy. Did you see that? Folks, I'm not sure if Via managed to pan across to her, but as I was going to get out the vehicle to check for tracks, here we go. She's just going to come out. Maybe not, so we'll go down there. Well, folks, that was lucky, eh? Following these tracks, and I almost gave up on it. There she is. Beautiful. When I say she, it is a he. Maybe quarantine, maybe Djuma. Just going to try and scoot us down into this little riverbed here. Hold on. Maybe a little bit bumpy here. Can you believe how lucky we got, folks? Jeez. Why are you being so nervous? Here's that now.
Quarantine.
So VM thinks it's quarantine. It could well be. He's hungry, whoever it is. Certainly a hungry leopard. Now hold on here, folks. We're gonna try and stay with this leopard, but it is a difficult area to traverse. And I have nearly got stuck in the same crossing in the past, so let's hope it doesn't happen now. No, all good. I got lucky. Beautiful, look at that. This will be a good opportunity to screenshot, folks, and we can try and then get an easier ID on him. How incredible. He was lying just meters from the vehicle in a tuft of reeds, in a clump of reeds where we couldn't see him, and as I put my first foot on the ground he shot off and I shot back in. Beautiful. It's going to be difficult, folks, but we are just going to try to give you one last view of him as he walks down this riverbed. What a beautiful place to be watching him. But the problem is, look at that. Wonderful. I'm going to try and roll forward a little bit. Oh, we might just fall into this riverbed though. There we go. That's as good as it's going to get before we fall into the riverbed. Myself and Mark have walked down this riverbed following leopard tracks before, and we stopped and leant on that fallen down tree and had a chat. It's a good place to lean and chat on. And it's just where that leopard has now disappeared to. As far as I remember, I don't know how we are going to get to another viewable portion of this. If it does cut out now, at least it's not waving while we're trying to regain visual of him. So let me just let the guys know.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
It really is just so difficult to decide what to do now because it's so thick and impenetrable, this riverbed that he headed down. And he could be lying down somewhere, he could be carrying on. We've kind of looped ahead to where if he had have carried on walking at the pace he was, there was a chance he'd be in this kind of general area. But the problem is that there's just, I mean, as you can see in front of us, folks, it's just impenetrable, but we will keep searching for a way through, and with a little bit of luck, a little bit more luck, we've already had a little bit of luck this morning by finding him. Hopefully we'll find a little gap in amongst all this foliage and find him. He's very hungry, and nothing better than finding a hungry leopard, because the chance that they're going to perform for you is good, because they need to fill their bellies. We'll try and actually backtrack a bit, see if we can't find another spot closer to where we last saw him. I'm guessing he could continue lying down. It's interesting to see how nervous he was when I did take that step out the vehicle, because it's something for me to bear in mind when tracking these animals, that they could simply just be permanently hiding from you. So you can be tracking them, and as you're getting close, they're on foot, they can simply just be sneaking off and evading your presence, so it's useful to know what are we going to do here. Where? Oh. Folks, it is very difficult for VM, but he's doing an exceptional job. Our luck has continued, and I'm hoping he's going to continue out of this riverbed into a place where it's easier for us to follow him, and it looks like he is. Can you hear the tree squirrels alarming at him? Just want to give him a little bit of distance to start with, because he was a little bit flustered by us earlier, and by giving him a little bit of space, I'm hoping that he'll get back to his normal relaxed self, and that way also not try and hide from us in the riverbed and rather come out and find something to eat, which it looks like he is doing. Wonderful. VM, well spotted. Folks, while we regain visual, I am very tempted to get back on the radio and let the guides know it's so important for us to look after one another. But I'll just give it a minute or two and just establish that we can actually stay with them before I call the guys in. Appear to be some holes here, VM, so hold on. Where did he go? Where did he go? Where did he go? Last sight was 2 o'clock.
Yes, at 3 o'clock.
Oh, there he is. Okay, nice. Well done. Jeez, folks. I'll tell you what, having VM on board is a lucky thing, because he is all over this. Me, on the other hand, I'm having the best day with the driving. Okay. Well, folks, all those times that you do have to bear with me trying to track these animals fruitlessly, I hope is now worthwhile. Because I was so close to, he is just to our right, folks. I'm just waiting for him to hopefully come out into a clearer spot, which it looks like he will continue doing. But like I say, we were so close to abandoning these tracks and continuing to the hyena den sites, and checked one road where the tracks could have well have popped out and they didn't, and then at the last moment I'd actually continued back to the hyena den sites and then did another U-turn to just check Philemon's Dip, which is an area where we found leopard before and Djuma before. I think this is Djuma, and that, thank you for those reports saying it is, to those of you who have ID'd him. Where did he disappear to now? It is so thick. We had visual of him just a few seconds ago, folks, and he's kind of slinking in and out of this drainage line, this riverbed, which makes following him difficult. But he's here somewhere, and there's just another game viewer that's arrived. I just want to give him an update. We've just seen him again now.
Okay.
He's been slinking in and out of this riverbed, but he was last seen 20 seconds ago just down here. I'm just going to have a quick look, but he could well continue along. Morning, everyone. We'll see. Okay, he's just popped up right here. I don't know if he's stalking something, but that was beautiful how he just poked up his head just meters from us, really intent on something. Okay folks, well the good thing is that I do think for a short while this riverbed does become slightly more open and viewable, so things should pick up hopefully. Morning everyone. Craig, how you doing buddy?
Don't get head back down.
He's just in and out, so yeah. WildEarthTV. Yeah. Have a good one, folks. I'm going to try and stay with them. Okay, folks. Now, what we are so fortunate about being in this vehicle is that we really are at an advantage over the longer vehicles. That are typically used for game viewing. I can't see if I'm about to drive off a small cliff, so if we do just disappear all of a sudden, then you'll know what's happened. Okay, sorry guys, it's very backwards forwards, but there's nothing we can do about that, sadly. We could well have continued further down by now if we had have carried on moving. It's just so difficult to say what's going on. So I'm sorry about the intermittent visuals, but better than nothing, that's for sure. Just going to give it another few seconds here. So what do you think, Vim? If we could approach from the other side of this riverbed now, we would be good, but...
Where is it somewhere?
Vim, I think we should try and maybe find a spot where we can try and cross over and get into this riverbed. The gradient is a lot smoother on the other side of this riverbed, so once we do get onto that side, it'll be a lot easier, but for us to go around the way we came would be too far. So we are going to have to engineer our own new route across. Okay. Got a good idea of where he last was from this boer bean tree, and now we look for some way to get across this riverbed. It's going to be very difficult. I'll just come from here. It's not going to help. Folks, this is really our only option to try and get onto the other side of this riverbed, and our chances of getting across are slim, but we are going to try and find a way. And who knows, maybe he did walk past in the time that we were waiting there. There were sections that he was hugging the riverbank where we wouldn't see him. So he could pop up in front of us at any second for all we know. Ooh, it looks like we may have a potential crossing point here. Oh. Okay, this is looking good. I think we will be able to cross, and if we can cross, then the chances of us finding him become, or re-finding him, become greatly improved. Okay. Hold on, everyone. I can't believe how lucky we are to have made it through this riverbed. I really didn't think that was going to happen. Okay. Now it's time to pick up the speed a little bit and try and backtrack to where we last saw him in the river. Sorry if you feel like you're getting seasick from all the bumping, but that is how it goes sometimes when you're on safari. It can get a little bit bumpy. Okay.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
check this out on the camera.
Oh, no ways. There's a painted reed frog on the camera, folks, so I'm going to have to get it off to show you. I just want to... Yeah, well, let's just do that now. Well spotted, Vim. It's the most pretty little frog. We obviously picked up on the way through the riverbed. Oh. I somehow miraculously keep managing to catch it, but there it goes. It jumped off. I hope you guys got a view of it. It's a beautiful little painted reed frog that was sitting on VM's camera. Okay, now I think we can just about head back down into this riverbed in the hope of finding him. Well done, Vim. Okay. So now any second now, I'm hoping we are going to bring you a visual of this leopard. This is where we last saw him. He could well have continued from here. Or he could just be lying up in the shade. This was where we last saw him, maybe. Yeah? Remember this tree, and he just slunk down into the riverbed here. I wonder if we're going to get out of this. It's very steep. Well, anyway, we're in it now, so time will tell. So this is where we last did have visual of him, in this riverbed. And now he could be lying down just as he was when we found him earlier this morning, in amongst that grass, and we would not be able to see him. What to do? What to do? Very difficult to see his tracks in here. I'm going to have a look. What we could do, potentially drive up this. No, I don't think we're going to be able to drive up this riverbed. Let's see if we're going to be able to make it out. Yeah. Vehicles are incredible. They really are. Okay, so now we just need to try and find another little point where we could enter the river bed. There's a chance it came out, but I just want to confirm that he's not just lying up nearby here. Oh. Where have you gone? Okay. So this is possibly our last shot at it, folks, so let's hope for the best. But we will establish there may be a plan C if we don't have any luck. Where are you hiding? Okay. Well, this is where he was last, folks, literally right in front of us here. was where we saw him come down into the river, and then we were just up on the bank on the other side over here. So he could have walked past without us seeing him. We really did get so lucky to see him as much as we did after that initial location of him, due to the nature of this thick vegetation. So that we must remember, we have been very fortunate already. But I would like to show you more of him if we can. And like I say, he is hungry. And a hungry leopard is typically an entertaining leopard. Just going to check for any of his tracks on this road here, because he could have literally also just popped out of the riverbed and come out onto this road. This is, I think, my 10th stall of the day, and I apologize for that. Not having a good day behind the wheel. Okay, no sign of his tracks on the road. So what I'm thinking is to go a little bit further downstream in the same direction he was heading, and see if we can find another little spot to investigate. So I might actually even almost go back to the same place where I initially crossed. No, we'll continue further than that, because by now, if he was still on the move, he would be considerably further away or further downstream. That is what makes tracking difficult. We just have no idea whether it's laid down, continued moving. But if he did continue moving at the speed he was, I think he would be quite away from us now. We've been having to cross the river, get back to the initial spot, backwards, forwards, and in all that time, even if he was moving slowly, he would have moved a long way away from us. So we'll try and link ahead more of a considerable amount, considerable distance, and see if we don't have any luck by trying to leapfrog ahead of where we assume he may have gone. Sadly, this road doesn't take me as close to that riverbed that he was walking down as I would like it to. So, what I think I might do is do one last little decisions. What to do.
Just check the waterfall up there.
Cool. Oh, here we go, fresh tracks on top of the vehicle tracks. This could be him walking down this road. They were just on the left-hand side of the vehicle. Come on, be around the next corner. literally, folks, it could be around the next corner. There were fresh tracks on this road that have now disappeared. I'm pretty sure those would have been his tracks, folks. It was fresh leopard tracks on top of vehicle tracks on a road that I know they've driven down. Come on. Wonder if we can get down into this riverbed here. Well, folks, we have been taken on a tour of some interesting places today with the off-roading. It was good fun, that's for sure. Now, signal may cut out in this riverbed, folks, but I do need to check here because these tracks were direction. Now do we check upstream or downstream? Let's start with upstream. Got a little stick insect here, folks. Very interesting creatures crawling up my arm. Very cool little insect, one of Brian, the cameraman's favorite insects. The stick insect. So this one's just jumped on board for a little bit of the adventure. And I don't blame it, it has been an adventure this morning. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. Just put him on my head for now. See where he goes from there. Okay. We mustn't lose focus here because we are looking for a leopard. There were tracks, fresh tracks on top of vehicle tracks heading into this riverbed or towards this riverbed. And what we'll do is we'll follow this riverbed a little bit longer and then get to a point where we can hopefully get out of it again. Although I don't think we will, we might have to turn around. Alex, are you there, buddy? Okay, copy, thank you. Okay, dead end. We'll be able to turn up back to Oof. Okay. Well, the plan to leapfrog ahead of the leopard seemed to have worked to a degree because we have found fresh tracks heading straight down towards this riverbed. So I'm hoping we are going to be lucky in the next few minutes. A lot of hiding places along these riverbeds, which is what makes it always exciting, searching for leopard in places like this, or any animals really. I've never been in this section of riverbed, and it's just enjoyable being in here. Could you go again with that message, please, Alex? Copy, thank you. Where has the leopard gone? Okay. Time to regroup again and make another plan as to what to do next. Kevin on Twitter, good morning and welcome on board. Kevin's just asked whether we track any animals by smell, and the answer to that is no. I don't think anybody does have that capability or strong enough smell to be able to do so. Certain animals are strong smelling, like wild dog. You can smell them if they're only a few meters away from you and the wind is in the right direction. But by that stage, they're already close enough for you to see them. Or strong enough smell to be able to do so. Certain animals are strong smelling, like wild dog. You can smell them if they're only a few meters away from you and the wind is in the right direction. But by that stage, they're already close enough for you to see them visually. They're not. The only way to track animals is by following their footprints. And like dung do help to establish how old tracks may be by also looking at dung if you do find any dung or droppings. But on the tracking, not sensitive enough. I'd be very interested to know where the last tracks of this leopard did go. They were heading here. I just want to go and have a quick look at them again. The leopard appeared to hug this right-hand fork that we're on now, according to the tracks. Thereafter, I'm battling to tell what he did exactly. Whew, it is cooking, folks. It really is. Hard to describe how hot and humid it is out here. A question just come through from Tracy on email. Morning, Tracy, and welcome on board. Tracy was asking how many days a leopard could go for without making a kill, and 3 to 4 days would be fairly comfortable for a leopard to last without a meal. It does depend on how full-bellied they were between meals, but from having a full belly, 3 or 4 days would not be a problem for a leopard not to eat, but ideally it would be making a kill around once every 3 days. A lot depends on the time of year and what they're killing and what's available and more likely to be killed. At this time of year, their kills are in all likelihood to be baby impala, but it's not necessarily going to be that. They'll take any opportunity they can get. If they are catching baby impala, one a day, one every 2 days is more realistic. But if they're catching fully grown impala, then one fully grown impala could last a leopard 4 or 5 days of feeding, depending. So there are a lot of variables, but they can go for about 3 or 4 days without eating, no problem. So now we need to establish what on earth to do next. For some of those of you who might only be getting up now, good morning and welcome on board, or joining us, not necessarily getting up, but if you lived in South Africa and you were watching, you would have had a little bit of a sleep in relative to what we do. And now you're on board. To recap, we did have a few brief glimpses of Djuma, the young male leopard, heading down the same riverbed that we're about to cross now, but quite not further upstream. And then we did find a few tracks now, look very fresh, heading in this direction. They could well have been his if he did leave this riverbed. But we certainly are in the area of the leopard, that's for certain. It was seen not so long ago. It's difficult to decide where to go next in terms of searching for him or possibly looking at some other animal. the reason why I would like to stay with him if we can relocate him is because he is hungry, and the hungrier they are, the more likely they are to perform for us. Leopards do often provide great entertainment because they haven't honed their hunting skills yet very well, and therefore catching their prey is still very difficult for them. Well, it is difficult even for adult predators, but exceptionally difficult for the youngsters. They've still got a lot to learn and have only been kicked out of their mother's comforting. So they do spend a lot of time on the move trying to catch prey, even if it is small prey like squirrels or dwarf mongoose. It provides us great opportunities to view them. I can't wait to have a look at that footage of when we did first find him, because it certainly was exciting. VM was getting ready to, in position to film me as I was, because he has to swivel around on the back of the vehicle depending on what angle we're filming, and because I was going to get out and check for tracks in the riverbed, he was swiveling across on the seats and getting the camera ready, and as my foot touched the ground, the leopard exploded out of the reeds, and I'm not sure if he managed to frame it running away, but either way it'll be exciting to watch, or interesting to watch. I think what I'm going to do is do a big loop around the same block where we lost him. He may have come back out onto the road. He could be anywhere in this area, so it is worth investing some time. Go ahead with your question, Alex. Your question, Alex. Darren's just asked a question. Morning, Darren. Whether animals in the Kruger Park and Sabi Sands migrate to other parts of Africa. To a degree, yes, they do. Even within the South African section of the Kruger National Park, which is about 200 miles long, that gives the animals a lot of space to naturally do small seasonal migration from the reserve in the South African part, but in the north towards Zimbabwe and Mozambique stretches from South Africa into Botswana, into Zimbabwe as well as Mozambique. So the animals have got even more than 3 million, it's about 3 million hectares that got access to. Particularly on the other side of Zimbabwe and the other side of Mozambique, there aren't channels that would allow them to move further up into East Africa safely. Typically, that is where we'll stop. Ideally, there would be a long corridor where animals could move all the way from East Africa down to South Africa, but the rate at which we have developed and continue to develop this planet is constricting wilderness areas, and if not only constricting, also cutting off areas that could have, with a bit of foresight, been planned as these long natural corridors of nature that flow through the countries, but that is the case. But yeah, so animals are limited to those three countries, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and only certain parts of those countries. But there is seasonal movements of animals that we notice in and out of the Sabi sands between summer and winter, so there is movement for them to migrate to a degree. What we might be able to reenact exactly what happened, because we are approaching the riverbed where we first found Djuma this morning. It was one of those things that you can spend years and years in the bush but not necessarily have a situation like this happen very often. We had been tracking him for not very long and I wasn't convinced as to whether we should follow him or not, and decided to check one last little spot. We'll see if we can show you this lilac breasted roller that had just come down to make a kill on the road, which it has now flown off with and subsequently gobbled. But sadly, due to where it's sitting in the tree, we will not be able to give you a decent shot of it, so we will continue. But as I was saying, spend years and years in the bush and not have an experience like we had this morning happen very often. To be following leopard tracks and getting to an area, looking around, assuming there's no leopard there, taking one step out the vehicle and the leopard takes off from just a few meters away from you. It just goes to show how good their camouflage is. And we'll show you now exactly what did happen, because I know VM wasn't ready for the leopard to take out of the bush, and neither was I, so we may have missed it, and therefore you would have missed the opportunity to understand of exactly what happened. So we had come down this road, but in the opposite direction to where we've just arrived now. So the vehicle was facing the other way, and literally I was about to get out of the vehicle over here, where we were facing that way, and I was about to get out the vehicle here, and the leopard was lying. I think it must have been either right here or just down in here. So from here I disappear, and as I took my first step out, it ran up there. So that's what happened. And I do apologize if you can't hear me when I go off the vehicle, but I don't want to be shouting too loudly so that you can hear me. Okay, so that's what happened shortly earlier this morning when we found him. And hopefully on this next loop we do, who knows, maybe he's come out on the road, maybe he's lying up in a marula tree. Tim on Twitter is asking about the stick insect. Morning, Tim. Sorry, I did forget about it. The last I remember, I put it on my hat, and that was the last known position of the stick insect. It could well have climbed off by now, but sadly there's a lot going through this little brain of mine, and I did forget about the stick insect. But that was quite a small one we found, Tim, and hopefully we'll be able to find some bigger ones over the coming weeks to show you. That'll be a bit easier for you to have a really closer look at. And when we're not in the the heat of following a leopard or trying to relocate a leopard, we can stop and actually let you have a good look at them. They're bizarre animals to watch up closely. Okay, so now we are back in the immediate area where we last had visual of Djuma this morning, and it was just down to our left in a little riverbed. He could still well be in that riverbed, and I'm guessing he is, because it is the coolest place for him to be on a hot day like this. So we might just poke our nose back down into the riverbed. Ooh. This buffalo's got some attitude, and I think is worth us examining. Oh, possibly because he's blind in his right eye. That's maybe why he's giving us a bit of attitude. Wonder how that happened. Possibly running into a stick, possibly just old age. He is a big old bull. I wouldn't like to have one eye out here, that's for certain. The good news is that he's not on his own, and he is here with other individuals, members of a bachelor herd of buffalo. And they do look after one another. If one is potentially brought down by lion and starts bellowing, the others will almost always come back, and something getting them a little bit worked up. Possibly it's the sense of this leopard or of the male lion that walked down this road. In the early hours of this morning. I just want to carry on this. There appears to be looking into a little bush here. Imagine if Djuma's here just slinking under the noses of these buffaloes. He could be. But there is certainly something that is getting them a bit worked up. What it is, I'm not too sure, but we shall just investigate this area a little bit more closely now. I think it's just my mind playing tricks on me, wishful thinking that the leopard is nearby. Oh, here's the stick insect, Tim. We found it. There we go. I'm just going to put it on here, and that'll make it easier for VM to film, I think. Can move very quickly. Oh, maybe on my hand is the best, because then it can't get off it. Very, very cool animal. It's chosen a simple, well, it's evolved for a simple form of camouflage, and that's to make itself look like a stick, and a stick is what it looks like. And it's not the best display, or it's not easy to imagine it blending in well when it does these funny dance moves that you can see it doing now. But that's simply because it's on my hand, which is very unlike the branches that it would usually be standing on. But if it was standing on a branch and the little branches blowing in the wind, that kind of a funny movement, similar to that of a chameleon, does help it blend in greatly. And what I think I am going to do, folks, is perform a release, because a stick insect on a Land Rover is not the best place for it to be. So we can just have one last look at them. They really are beautiful. Let's get in the sun there, that's a bit better. I think. Cool, so that's him waving goodbye, and we are going to release him onto a little bush, and we'll see if VM can try and stay on it, but I'm not sure. Probably this buffalo thorn here. Can you get onto that?
Try.
Oh, yeah. Is that going to work? Good?
Good.
So we'll just release him here onto this buffalo thorn, and let's watch him dissolve and do his thing. Just going to rush back to the monitor so I can also have a look. Where's he gone? Oh, there he is. Okay. Well, folks, as you can see now, the stick insect does blend in very well with the sticks, and that prevents them getting gobbled up by anything. So, Tim, I'm glad we got to see him again, and thank you for reminding me about him. Samara's just asked a question asking what do stick insects eat, and I don't have the faintest idea. So if any of you that have access to a PC, you can maybe just Google stick insects feeding requirements or feeding habits, and that would be great for us to all learn what they do feed on, because I don't have a clue what they eat. Possibly leaves, as they don't appear to have too much in the way of predatory. Yeah, they don't seem to have any predatory adaptions or any predatory signs, so I think we could assume they are a herbivore. And Alex has just come through on the radio now saying they are herbivorous and they eat leaves and berries. So that then answers your question, Tamara. Thank you. And the one we did see was quite small. They do get up to 6 inches long in this area that I've seen. Okay, well, now that I've stalled for the 15th time this morning, VM's going to take over driving. Only kidding, that would be a disaster because I don't know how to work the camera. Well, not well enough, nearly. Not nearly as well as him, but I'm going to continue driving, but we are going to move out of the area that we did last see this leopard in. We're about to complete one full circle around the block where we lost him in, and if we don't come up with anything like that, it might be worth going for a swim in one of the dams. It is so hot. Every time we drive past even a little puddle of water like the one on our little mudwalla on our left, even that looks inviting to me, folks. It is cooking. To recap, for any of those of you who've just joined briefly or just joined shortly ago, we did have Djuma, apparently, young male leopard, for a few minutes crisscrossing through a riverbed, but then because it was so thick we did lose visual of him, and we haven't been able to find him again. It's a really thick riverbed and difficult to access, so sadly we haven't had any joy finding him again. Okay, can you see that bird up there? Wildebeest, right at like 12 o'clock, but on the closest lowest branch towards us. Up a bit. Up a bit. Zoom in fully. Up a bit. Where have you gone?
I'm not seeing that.
Hey?
Oh, the small one.
Yeah, that one there.
Okay.
Well done. You're straight on it. Slap bang. Zoom in there. Lower. There we go. Nice. Now, folks, this bird, I'm just hoping it's going to jump out of the shadows into the sun. It's a beautifully colored bird called a violet-backed starling, or a plum-colored starling. And it's got an incredible purple sheen on its feathers when the sun does catch it correctly. But sadly right now it's in the shadow, so it's difficult to see that purple iridescence. But if we just give it a minute, I'm hoping it's just going to shuffle onto another branch, and that would display its beauty. This is the male we're looking at. The female is quite drab and bland, very different looking to him, which is quite often in the bird kingdom, quite often the case. This chap's taking some time to do what looks to be quite a thorough cleansing of all of the feathers. Oh, wonderful, there's a little bead, so that's just landed just to the left of it. You'll be able to frame both of them. Go just to the left. Just shift to the... Maybe it's taken off now that I'm looking at the monitor. Yeah, it has just taken off. The little beads it took off, but there's other birds that have just arrived above it. And I think that is a southern black tit. Oh, hold on. What is that? Yes, that is a southern black tit above the violet-backed starling, and there was a little bead, so that flew in and visited very briefly, but then took off. Now, the next interesting thing for VM to try and film, have you got it, Joe? Were you trying to get the dragonfly?
Yeah.
There was a dragonfly hovering just above us, but it's no longer hovering around us, and the violet-backed starling is taken off, so we shall continue. But that was a good break. I'm sorry you didn't get to see the full beauty of the violet-backed starling out in the sunshine, but there was so much all going on at once that we kind of lost track of who to focus on and who to film. Okay. Oh, look at these go-away birds, Vian. This is going to be a beautiful shot, folks. Two grey go-away birds sitting at the top of this dead leadwood tree. Oh, wonderful. and flying off. You would have been able to see briefly they were panting furiously, just like a dog would or a cat to keep cool. Birds are the same, unlike us that can sweat. Birds and cats and dogs and a lot of other mammals can only pant, and they were seriously going at it, trying to keep cool. So either Djuma popped out onto this road and took this right fork, or another male leopard, a young male leopard last night. So all likelihood it was him. This morning we lost him. He continued moving. He popped out here and then continued into another riverbed up ahead of us. We did drive through that riverbed with no luck of finding him, but we may drive through another section of the riverbed now just to make sure we didn't miss him. Okay, back into the riverbed we go. It's getting desperate times here, folks. I'm going to try and cool myself down with some cold water. Oh, my hair's very thick, so it's creating a bit of a beanie effect. So hopefully by putting some cool water on it, it's going to cool me down temporarily. Okay, little Franklin. Let's watch it crossing the riverbed here. This was the bird that you would have heard alarming at us as we came around the corner. A Natal Franklin, or Natal spurfowl. They make a very loud noise for a small bird. Appears to be nibbling on some grass seeds there. Okay. Well, we shall continue down this riverbed now. I'm going to get my accelerator pole ready so I don't come unstuck. And now the vehicle shall just drive itself. And that way I can get out of the hot bonnet and get a little bit of a breeze going. As long as I've got this pole, and I do need to accelerate slightly, I can. I could probably use a shorter pole. There we go. These poles are for tarpaulin that got measured and cut to size and sewn into a form of a canopy or roof for case it's raining. And Peter Pretorius was the main guy to head that up, who was another presenter Wild Earth presenter was working a few weeks back. And that is why the poles here, there is a chance of rain this afternoon. So we bought these poles in case we need to erect this tarpaulin over the vehicle, and that way we'll still be able to film during the rain rather than sitting doing the 3-hour chats from a set position. We'll try our best to rather get you out there. So many places for animals to be hiding in. By sitting on the side of the vehicle like this, it does help me slightly in that I am only cooking in the driver's seat as I was, but I'm elevated. And that way, got a slightly better vantage point to see things that may be lying up on the banks. That's enough riverbed action. You know, do signal a little bit further down the riverbed, especially in Zanele. The Zanele and Djuma surprisingly have got slightly different abilities to broadcasting and where they can broadcast from, and we slowly work exactly where they can and can't operate. But like I did mention earlier this morning, the dynamics change with the broadcasting and satellites. The way the satellites work, it's very erratic today. So it simply depend on the day, but we are getting to know areas that are more likely to than others. Alex has just let me know that the signal is improving. Thanks, Thanks, Alex. Okay. Here we are on Mamba Road. It's a road that's yet to provide me with any major sightings or sightings of interest, but that will change with time, I have no doubts. But at some stage we will see something interesting here. Maybe today's the day. Got about 45 minutes left, folks. A good friend of mine from school is in the Sabi Sands for a few days, which is great, staying not too far away from us. So look forward to catching up with him between the drives today. So those are my plans between now and when I see you later this afternoon, to head out and visit a good friend of mine, which is great. Working out in the bush is a wonderful thing, and there's lots of things that I do love about being in the bush. There's a long list, and one of the things that isn't good about being in the bush is you do miss your friends and family. You are often out here for long stretches of time, and you go for abnormally long periods of time without seeing friends. So any opportunity you get to get people up here to visit you, or that are just coincidentally visiting with their family, you really got to make the most of. And I look forward to doing that today. I'm hoping they have a pool where they are. I'm guessing they will, because that is where I will be positioning myself. The game channel is going a bit frantic, so I'm going to try and listen and decipher what they're talking about for a while. Alex has just come here with the temperature. Lots of people are asking what the temperature is, and Alex, confirm you said 28. It's got to be more than that, 28 degrees Celsius. Okay, well, the information that Alex has got is saying it's 28 degrees Celsius, which puts you into about 80s Fahrenheit. But VM? 32 degrees is VM's thermometer. And yeah, that's at 8:30 in the morning. So I suppose it is still early, and it's maybe the humidity that is confusing me to a degree, or making me believe that it is hotter than it is. The humidity does get you out here. But thank you, Alex, for checking that. As I was saying, I just want to try and listen to the Game Drive channel for a while there. It's difficult to hear what the people are saying a lot of the time for various different reasons, but all that I can assure you is that it sometimes feels like I'm trying to decipher Morse code when I'm listening to the Game Drive channel. So that is sometimes why I go silent, just to try and establish what people are talking about and if they found anything. There have been few camps where I've worked where the radio procedure, protocol and equipment all work as they should. So it's something you get used to out here, but it can be very frustrating having this earpiece plugged in and people making a racket and not even really being able to understand what they're saying. But like I say, that is fairly common throughout the industry, or at least my experiences of the industry. Radios can be a difficult thing to get right. It's incredible how now, just from the sun becoming more elevated, it's becoming harder and harder for me to see tracks of animals. The lower the sun is down to the horizons, the more of an angle or shadow it casts over a track, so the easier it is to see. Whereas if the sun's directly above you, or if it's overcast, it becomes considerably harder to see tracks. Oh, sorry, Vim. Nearly drove Vim into a fallen down thorn tree. The elephant appeared to have moved out of the immediate area. There doesn't seem to be too much sign of them around at the moment, but that's normal for elephants to come and go. We were spoilt over a certain period where we had lots of elephant viewing. It was really great, and I did mention that it's not always going to be like that. And I find myself missing the elephant now. So look forward to our next encounter with them. We did have a nice one on the way to work this morning of a big bull. He was quite relaxed with us. And it was a beautiful, beautiful sunrise this morning. One of the best we've seen, I think. So we had this beautiful big elephant bull and an incredible sunrise in the background. Thankfully our jobs and routines are getting into order now, so we're not as pressed for time in the morning as we were when the crew was a bit bigger and people were less used to the hours and the procedures involved in getting here in the morning. So this morning we stopped a few times for a couple of minutes just to enjoy the scenery and take some photographs, which is better than rushing to work in the morning, that's for certain, especially when you're in a beautiful place like this. And what did happen yesterday was that I saw my first leopard up a tree since I've been back in the Sabi Sands. It was in the Manyeleti, and we were on a difficult one to spot because she was very close to the road, but did spot her and did get excited. So it is something I have been speaking about a lot, wanting to spot a leopard up a tree, but I do want to do it with you guys on board. I don't want to do it when you're not around. So that one yesterday technically didn't count. It was a warm-up, a trial run, and hopefully it won't take too long for us to share that experience together, because it really is cool seeing them up a tree. But go ahead with the question, Alex. Got a question from Doug in Connecticut. Good morning, Doug. Welcome on board. Doug is asking, how do you establish how old tracks are? What are the signs you look for? There's a lot of different signs and clues that you do need to investigate, Doug. And I'm actually going to stop the vehicle and go through a few of these with you here. So, when you are tracking, Doug, when you are tracking, Doug, there are certain different things you can look for to try and establish how fresh the tracks are. It's not easy. that is something that needs to be known from the get-go. It's not an easy thing to do, tracking animals, and the fortunate thing about being in this area of South Africa or Africa is that there's some of the best trackers in the world that come from this area, the Shangaan people. They've spent many years in this area, so they're very comfortable with the scenery and surroundings, and a lot of them have spent time either poaching many years ago or sorry, there's a vehicle coming, Doug, so I'm just going to get out the way. They should be able to squeeze past. We'll just say hello to them quickly and then I'll carry on with you, Doug. Morning! How are you guys doing? Yeah, very good. No, just Djuma briefly. He was lying there in Philemon's Dip and then he headed down the drainage, but we couldn't stay with him. Other than that, not too much, eh? Okay, have a good day, folks. Sorry, Doug. I was saying hello to some passers-by there. We don't get many of them out here. So, the trackers in this area, the Shangaan people, some of them used to be poachers many years ago and have been converted. And if not that, they've simply grown up herding livestock, losing livestock, and learning the skill of tracking. Now, whether you're tracking a goat or a lion or a leopard, you're looking for the same or similar signs in the ground, in the earth, and by telling how old tracks are, it doesn't matter whether it's a goat or a lion. You can still establish and learn how to tell how old or how fresh tracks may be. Clues that we may look for: if we find tracks, which usually the best time to find tracks of predators is in the morning after they've been active at night. So if you find tracks, the first thing you want to do is to not simply look at one individual track, but try and look at an area of over like 10 feet or 20 feet. And by increasing the area of tracks, you're increasing the chance of seeing clues around those tracks. So let's say, for example, there you found one crisp track of a leopard, but then 2 steps ahead on another one of its footprints, you can see that a nocturnal bird has walked over its tracks. Now that means that the leopard would have had to pass, and then the bird would have had to come and land and then walk over a fair amount of time after the leopard has been there. You can only assume that because the nocturnal bird has been on the predator's tracks, on top of the predator's tracks, that it's not that fresh, but in the same breath, that nocturnal bird could have landed on top of the leopard's tracks 10 minutes after it had moved there, therefore not making a huge difference. But by seeing other tracks of nocturnal animals on top of certain tracks that you may be following are good indicating clues. To simply go down and feel the sand and make an impression similar to what you think a leopard would be doing, and seeing how that impression looks relative to the leopard's tracks. And that way, if they look quite similar, that means, well, there's a chance that, you know, the tracks aren't too old. With heat and temperature and wind, obviously that affects the sand and the granules, and they may start caving in, and tracks may become less defined as time goes on. So the more defined they are, the fresher they are typically. What else can I think about regarding tracks, Doug? Nothing at the moment. Sadly, it is an aspect of this experience that we poorly convey to you, and that's simply because it's difficult to convey the essence of tracking when the camera is fixed on the vehicle, and when I can't talk to you even from off the vehicle. So in the coming years, as technology improves, the tracking experience will be able to be incorporated much better into this experience, and it's very important to get to that stage, because for guests that do come here and do experience a live game drive, they do have a tracker on the vehicle, and it does add a new dimension to things. But with us, we're still trying to fill that gap. But if I do think of anything else regarding tracks, I'll let you know. All I can tell you that is it's a lot of guesswork in between. Just like this morning, it was a process of trial and error and elimination. So when we did find the initial, the leopard tracks that we did end up finding the Djuma from those tracks, he was heading down the road that we were driving down, and I knew that not far behind us there was another road heading in that same direction. So instead of following each individual footstep, I leapfrogged ahead to check if there was a road that he could well have taken, which he didn't. So through the process of elimination, I established that he didn't take that road, and he potentially another would have also been leading in the same general direction. And it was when I was going to get out and check that next, which he would have annoyed. But also that process of elimination is very useful when tracking, as opposed to following each individual footstep, which is impossible, especially when they go off and off roads. You can't follow their tracks in this grass, it's impossible. So then you just follow probable travel pathways that in all likelihood would have taken the path of least resistance. And you check along those pathways. If you do get lucky and find a sandy patch, you could maybe see one footprint. It's good fun though. It really is my favorite aspect of being archer, is tracking and finding animals. The excitement that we would lose if we didn't have to track animals and if they were all collared would, for me, detract greatly from the experience and the excitement of finding animals. Anne on Twitter. Good morning, Anne, welcome on board. Anne is asking which section of the Sabi Sands we're in, and we are in the northwestern corner of the Sabi Sands. Anne on Twitter. Good morning, Anne, welcome on board. Anne is asking which section of the Sabi Sands we're in, and we are in the northwestern corner of the Sabi Sands. It's a very disjointed or abstract shape, the Sabi Sands. It's not just one big square. There's lots of different little squiggles and shapes and add-ons, but we are essentially in the northwestern corner. There continues to be a few properties to the east of us, and then that opens up into the Kruger National Park, and further north of us opens into the Manyaleti, which is government's owned piece of land, also adjacent to the Kruger National Park, but open to it. So it's not the actual Kruger Park, it's part of what's known as the Greater Kruger National Park, which is all of the areas that are incorporated into the Kruger Park but weren't the initial reserve. It's been really great. What's been happening is that over the years, instead of there being small reserves like the Sabi Sands used to be, it used to be 60,000 hectares fenced in with a lot of requirement for for our intervention, bringing animals on, taking animals off, managing populations. But as soon as we drop the fence and open into the Kruger National Park and drop the fence with the Manyaleti, we've all of a sudden become a natural ecosystem that helps sustain itself and not require any man-made intervention or, you know, playing God, so to speak, deciding what animals should do and how many there should be of them. Now they can control that fairly naturally on their own, barring elephants, I guess. Elephants are one animal that would ideally have more space than they do here. But other than the elephants, the Kruger National Park, and even with the elephants, it's basically a completely natural ecosystem because it's big, and size is important for any environment to be able to sustain itself over tough periods. So yeah, the northwest end of the Sabi Sands on Djuma, and Arathusa is another property that we can traverse. We haven't spent much time across on Arathusa, and there's no specific reason for that other than, well, other than the fact that we have been having fairly good game viewing here, and that sadly on Arathusa our broadcasting strength at this stage is not up to scratch. So it's, if we go there, it's better to have two vehicles operational, so that if the one that is across on Arathusa crashes, at least we've got a backup plan to cut back to something else live. Whereas if at the moment with only one vehicle, if we lose signal, that's it. You guys have to watch the tech loop, and we do not want you to watch the tech loop. That is not what we want. So we will spend more time on Arathusa going forward, but for now we'll probably limit ourselves to Djuma, unless of course something exciting happens across there and we get called across on the radio. So now we are going to drive the same road where we bumped into Karula 2 afternoons ago, the day before yesterday. Now she was last seen far from here on our eastern boundary by Mark the following morning, which was yesterday morning. So I'm not putting huge money on the fact that she could be here, but if not her, something else, someone else could be strolling down Mvubu Road. Mvubu is a hippopotamus in Shangaan. This is called Hippo Road. It leads down to Vuyatela Dam, which is where the hippos do a lot of their relaxing during the day. Literally, we came up this little hill the other day and then went over this little bump, and then there she was, just around the corner in front of us. Boom, walking down the road towards us, and she took this little pathway to our left, and then we lost her in some thick vegetation, sadly. In retrospect, I should have actually stayed with her rather than trying to loop around this thick vegetation, but that was in hindsight after I got to go and explore there and realize that Zanele could wiggle her way through, but at first glance I thought there was no ways we'd be able to fit through the thick vegetation. So had a good learning curve yesterday or the day before, and also another good one today with learning where we can cross that riverbed where we lost Konima. The female Inyala here. That's what she thinks about our plan. We tried. Sometimes the animals just aren't interested, and today would be a day that I can understand that, because they may be hot and bothered. There's a few birds flittering around this tree. I just want to wait a minute or two, see if any pop into a good spot for us to got a message that's just come through from Kelly, I think it is, asking about the pregnant hyena, and sadly we don't have too much news on the hyena because they appear to have moved den sites. So oh, Tammy, sorry Tammy. So Tammy, no, sadly we don't have any updates on the pregnant hyena. We were going to go to the den site this morning, but on the way there we found the tracks of Djuma and then got distracted by looking for him, and then miraculously managed to actually find him. So we didn't make it to the hyena den site, and I haven't heard any word on there being activity there, so we don't know what the situation is regarding her. But maybe this afternoon I'll head across there as it cools down. With this heat, folks, it is difficult with the predators. It really is difficult. I can only assume that most of them are going to be for the majority of the daylight hours, which is when we broadcast. So we need it to rain and cool things down. That will hopefully increase our chances of finding predators on the move. And just the fact that if they're on the move, they're a lot easier to find than when they're lying down a lot of the time, because as soon as a lot of them lie down, they disappear. Come on, Karula, with your babies. Come out wherever you are. "15 minutes left, folks. What are we going to find in the next 15 minutes? The other day it was really nice. We found a chameleon crossing the road as we closed, which was a nice way to close out. We still need to do the chameleon plan where we find one at night when it's easier to find them, and then return first thing in the morning and just sit with it and film it and wait for it to eventually try and catch something with their incredibly elastic tongue that they shoot out at their prey. Morning, lads. Do you mind if we enjoy the shade with you for a moment? Good, thank you. His nose is also seriously going for it. Shame, but I feel bad because now we're dislodging them from their shade, so we will continue. Jim, do you think it's going to be possible to sleep in the middle of the day today in the research camp?
You want to be roasted?
The rooms, we've got access to rooms here at Djuma that they very kindly provided us with that we can use during the day for sleeping in. They've got a thin corrugated iron roof and that's it, with no insulation. So even on the cooler days they tend to have a microwaving effect, but on a day like today you may not survive a short sleep. You may be found just in a puddle of health by the end of a snooze, because it's gonna bake in there. So thankfully it's not on my plan today to have a midday snooze. We usually do it, and it's because we have very early mornings and typically fairly late nights too, so it's important to try and get some rest in the middle of the day. But today I don't think any of us will be getting it. I certainly won't, because I'm going to visit my friend, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. A friend of mine from boarding school. I went to a boarding school in South Africa, so we became very close with fellow peers at the school, because we spent a lot of time together. The year get broken up into 4 different terms or semesters, and out of those 4 semesters you could go home probably 2 or 3 weekends out of the 6 or 7 or 8 that make up each term. So we didn't go home very often, but we were out in the countryside, and we had a beautiful little nature reserve where we could go and explore and go fishing and just get up to general mischief. So I really enjoyed my time at boarding school and the bonds that I did make there. I would certainly go back there in a heartbeat. 5 very good years of my life were the high school days at boarding school. Well folks, there's only 10 minutes to go, so I'm going to start kind of trying to recap what happened this morning. And what did happen this morning? We started with the beautiful setting of that big male giraffe at WildEarthTV Dam, as well as some buffalo, the Egyptian geese family, with their 7 chicks still all doing well. And then we were following male lion tracks, saw some other leopard tracks, continued following the male lion tracks. He sadly crossed out of our property. And then we came across Djuma's tracks on the way to the hyena den, and then we're lucky enough to find him. So had a few brief visuals of him, and it is nice to have these brief sightings every now and then, because then when we do get spoiled rotten, like the one afternoon that comes to mind where myself and Brian spent 3 hours with the quarantine male, from before drive started until after drive. We were with him basically non-stop. We lost him very briefly for a few moments here and there, but it is when you get those special, really long-term sightings that you realize how lucky we are to have the sightings we have. And the only way to gauge that is from the trickier mornings like this morning, where you're getting brief glimpses and he's in and out of shots, and we're losing him, finding him, crossing riverbeds, all part of the adventure, but difficult from a viewing perspective. What else did we see this morning? Not too much. It's been relatively quiet in between things. Nice drive down the riverbed. Sorry, Alex, go again with that. The hippo and buffalo. Thank you, Alex. That was good entertainment, seeing the hippo that doesn't usually spend time in Treehouse Dam go up and not chase entirely, but he urged the buffalo to give him a bit more space. And just going to check here. Sorry folks, I've just seen a woodlands kingfisher fly out of a small dead section of what I thought would possibly a nest site for the woodlands kingfisher. They do nest in cavities in trees, but it was a false alarm. There is no cavity in the tree. Whew. And folks, myself and VM will be back on camera this afternoon, and Alex in control. Myself and Mark are taking turns, one day on, one day off, just until Jigger, the other vehicle, gets fixed. And as you can see, VM is showing you guys that we've got a few clouds forming. They're coming from the south and the east. They're coming from the south and the east. And that is where rain comes from. And we haven't had rain for a few days, and we've had a lot of hot days, and that combination of factors often indicates that it's just a matter of time before the heavens open, and we do need it. It will certainly cool things down, and the plants need as much water as they can get at this time of the year. But we may have to erect the tarpaulin that makes Zanelli look like an old ox wagon, but it works, and at least that keeps all the equipment dry and still allows us the opportunity to head out. The problem is though that it does take a while to set up. It takes at least half an hour to rig it up properly. Okay, well, let's see if we can find anything to show you guys. Sorry, go again with that, Alex. Copy, thanks. Okay, there's some more leopard tracks heading down this road. Looks to be like a female, potentially Karula. Oh. Okay. They could have been the same tracks that we did see heading down to Vuyatela Dam earlier this morning. What makes it difficult following tracks in this specific area around Djuma Lodge is that because Karula has given birth and raised her two beautiful sons, Karula and Quarantine, because she has managed to do it successfully, now we have these two males that can have almost a similar size foot to her because they still have some room for growth. And her, so it's three leopards all walking in the same territory with a relatively similar sized foot. So it could be any of them, it could be all three of them, and it wouldn't surprise me if we do have a sighting with all three of them at some stage. I know it did happen a few months back, and it's becoming less and less likely as they do become bigger. Karula and Quarantine, she'll be less and less hospitable as the months go on, especially now if she does have new cubs. Well, I think these impala are going to be... Oh, look at these ones here. Let's try to get these ones on there. Well done, V. I'm sorry, dude, not making your life easy, but these ones are really showing us a good run around there, and we'll stay with them. There's only 3 minutes left, so let's see if they don't provide us with a bit more entertainment. Beautiful animals, the impala. If there was just less of them, they would get a lot more airtime. Don't run away. Okay folks, well, just a couple of minutes left, and I think it's only fair that we do spend some more time with the impala. Like I said, because there are so many of them, they tend to get a little bit overlooked by myself and other people. So now we can just stop and really soak in their beauty. Interesting that there's no youngsters here whatsoever, yet these are all females, so maybe they've left the youngsters in a small nursery or creche nearby, or simply they are young females that are just not sexually mature yet. It doesn't take them quite long to become sexually mature, so they're either very young, a year old, or have their young somewhere else. Very young, a year old, or have their young somewhere else. Either way, here they are, and they are beautiful. And thanks for joining us, folks. It's been, as always, an interesting morning, and I think we've been very lucky to see the leopard, and that is something to remember. Any sighting of a leopard is a good one, even if it's brief. So I'm very happy that we did get to see who is believed to be Djuma this morning, and I look forward to an adventure with all of you this afternoon. So from myself, VM, and Alex, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions, and we will see you later.